What if the gym was our first gay social network? Hi there, I'm Chris with a K, and welcome back to This Week in Queer History, where we celebrate queer moments and icons that I wish I had known about as a young gay kid growing up in conservative America. Today we're talking about the secret history of gay gyms and how they were never just about fitness. Gay gyms weren't just places to sweat. They were bulletin boards, therapy sessions, and really lifelines. Before apps, before DM me was even something that we said, and before many of the gay bars even existed, we found friendship, flirtation, activism, care, and sometimes even a little love between the sets. We're talking about community built underneath fluorescent lights, plus the quiet heroes who kept the doors open. So let's get into it.
This week in queer history, stories told with love and glee.
Let's start with a little plot twist. The story of gay gyms doesn't begin with six-pack abs or tiny little shorts. It begins with moral reform. Yup, in 1844, the YMCA was founded in London, and by 1851, it had crossed over the pond to North America, and it was sold as a wholesome alternative to saloons and gambling and brothels. Their whole vibe was based around mind, body, and spirit, like a spiritual smoothie minus the joy. And yet, they built the perfect architecture for male intimacy. Dorms, gymnasiums, pools, communal showers, which all added up to a gay rom-com in the making. The YMCA even had a reoccurring character type, the bachelor secretary. In the late 1800s, a lot of YMCA leaders were lifelong bachelors, and some even formed intense roommate bonds that modern historians read as semi-closeted domestic arrangements. One famous example was Robert R. McBurney, yes, the McBurney YMCA in Manhattan, who lived with Richard C. Morse at a YMCA dorm for years. At the time, it was praised as Christian brotherhood. From where we stand now, it reads more like a secret partnership when marriage wasn't an option for gay men. And at the end of the 1800s, a little gay gasoline was added to the fire. The physical culture movement began. In 1899, publisher and health crusader Bernard McFadden launched Physical Culture magazine with a slogan that basically screamed, "Weakness is a crime." He rallied against effeminate men while publishing plenty of near-nude strongmen in classical poses, and that gave isolated gay men a legitimate reason to keep a secret stash of its muscle pages under their bed. And yes, he fought obscenity battles, famously getting arrested in 1907 for distributing obscene images of men in athletic wear. So the gym-adjacent world was already doing that classic queer move, hiding in plain sight. Then the crackdown arrived like a nasty villain in boring shoes. In 1912, Portland, Oregon erupted into a scandal that labeled the local YMCA a homosexual underworld. There were dozens of men that were indicted, many of them middle-class professionals. And in 1919, the U.S. Navy, under Assistant Secretary Franklin Delano Roosevelt, authorized a sting in Newport, Rhode Island, sending decoys into the YMCA after it had identified it as a hotspot. After these scandals, the YMCA tightened surveillance and shifted towards family memberships to dilute the all-male intensity. This translated into the gym was too good at what it accidentally had become. By World War II, mid-1900s, we get the locker club era. Semi-private spaces where servicemen could rent a locker, shower, and change into civilian clothes. In port cities like San Diego, places like Seven Seas Locker Club and Jack's Steam and Locker Club became known cruising grounds because a man there was just washing up. Sure, plausible deniability, the original incognito mode. But then a gym would open and a magazine would be published that would shake the hidden gay world. A huge thank you to the members that you see on screen right now. Your support makes this all possible, and it helps me keep digging through archives and sharing the queer history that inspires us. If you'd like to join them, there's a link up above and in the description down below. And if membership isn't in your budget right now, no worries. Subscribing and hitting the bell helps more than you know. Most of all, thank you for being here. In 1945, Bob Miser founded the Athletic Model Guild in Los Angeles, and in 1951, he launched Physique Pictorial. And this wasn't just a magazine, it was a network. Miser developed SCA symbols, which were a coded system that to outsiders looked like personality traits, but to insiders, they functioned like a pre-digital way to signal sexual preferences. Subscribers could even write letters via the publication. I mean, this is just like Grindr, but it takes 6 weeks to get a response, and it costs a stamp. Meanwhile, just over on the coast, Muscle Beach became a stage where bodies were performance, they were spectacle, and they were aspirational. And this was all right near the unofficial gay beach. And sadly, in 1958, Santa Monica shut it all down. The original Muscle Beach was wiped out, bulldozed, the equipment gone. Why? They said sexual misconduct. Ooh. But then we hit a breaking point. Stonewall, June 28, 1969. And gay liberation didn't just change nightlife, it changed self-image. In the 1970s, a hyper-masculine aesthetic rose, what many called the clone look. Sociologists described it as both a parody and emulation. Gay men were appropriating working-class masculinity. The cowboy, construction worker, lumberjack. They were using it all as armor against the sissy stereotype that had been forced on many gay men for their entire lives. And this armor that they were starting to put on, it took maintenance. A lot of maintenance. So the gym became the factory floor where that identity could be built. Enter the gay gym. In the early 1970s, party promoter John Blair opened the Body Center, and it was often cited as the first overtly gay gym. It was described as Nautilus machines, tiny shorts, tube socks, and ABBA all day. He understood something fundamental. A gym could be a daytime club. He even gave free memberships to cute little twink guys from the nightlife scene to fill the place with a little visual motivation. San Francisco had its gay gyms too. The Pump Room, later called Body Works, became an integral part of the culture of the Castro district. So much so that tourists would come and gawk at the bodies that were a part of the neighborhood. West Hollywood had its crown jewels too. The Sports Connection, sometimes affectionately called the Sports Erection, had a rooftop, sun deck, jacuzzi, and steam rooms that were, in YMCA terms, spiritually active. And nearby, the athletic club offered private tanning rooms where the unspoken rule was leave the door unlocked and you may just get more than a tan. But because queer history is never a tidy and clean montage, this era also sharpened exclusion. Body fascism became a known cruelty. Rigid policing of bodies, the rise of no fats, no femmes culture, it went along racism too. And in the 1980s, San Francisco saw protests around discriminatory door practices at Castro venues like the Midnight Sun, where Asian and black men were more likely to be carded or denied while white men sailed in. The gym scene could be a chosen family, and it could also be a hierarchy that hurt people. And then came the earthquake, AIDS. In 1981, the first signs appeared. The gym's meaning shifted fast. The body was no longer just currency, it was a battleground. What was called wasting from the disease became a terror for many gay men, and they used training and nutrition to appear healthy. It was a camouflage against stigma. Some accounts described a move from lean and ripped to a more padded and full look. Guys were adding weight as protection. And steroids, once only about size, also became medical tools in the fight against wasting syndrome, blurring survival and aesthetics in a way that still echoes today. But gay gyms also turned into hubs for mobilization and care. Bulletin boards filled with fundraisers, memorials, and mutual aid. The gym became a place where you learned who was sick and who needed rides, who needed a meal. And people definitely felt the absence. Empty lockers, missing regulars, whole friend groups disappearing. But then in 1996, protease inhibitors hit. Some called it the Lazarus effect. Death rates dropped. Gay gym culture moved into a new era, more mainstream and more commercial. In the 1990s, David Barton fused nightclub aesthetics with workouts, DJs, lighting, velvet rope energy, making the gay gym scene come alive again. Equinox, founded in 1991, scaled the idea into a luxury lifestyle brand. But then the story exploded in 2019 when a fundraiser connected Donald Trump to Equinox's ownership. This triggered a public boycott and a philosophical argument. Is my gym owned by somebody who votes against my well-being? Nothing really changed beyond statements distancing the ownership from Trump, but it started a conversation, one that continues. And then, because history loves a plot twist, the digital era changed everything. Grindr launched in 2009, and suddenly the need to meet men at the gym shrank. Cruising didn't vanish, it just evolved and shifted to a new platform. What were once glances between sets became DMs from a grid. The locker room is now just a place where you check who's 10 feet away. And at the same time, the story began to widen beyond cis gay male spaces. In 2010, the queer gym in Oakland was founded by Natalie Huerta. And if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry, but please someone help me in the comments. Let me know if I said it right or not. But they rejected hyper-masculine norms with choices like no mirrors and pronoun introductions, shifting the idea away from gay gym to queer gym, aiming for a safe space for trans and non-binary folks who have every reason to feel wary in gendered locker rooms. So when I say that gay gyms were never just about fitness, I mean that these places were bulletin boards, they were coded language, they were witness stands, they were grief rooms, they were laboratories for flirting, and also daily stability. Sometimes they were flawed, and most of the time they were life-saving. And always they were more human than they were machine. I did personally grow up loving sports, and I mean, that's pretty generous. I actively avoided them. I never quite understood the rules to them. I never felt that hunger to win and beat my foe. I never felt comfortable in a world where aggression and dominance were the virtues. It all felt loud and straight and very clear about who belonged and who didn't. And I knew even before I had language for it that wasn't me. So for a long time, I just assumed physical fitness wasn't going to be a part of my life. Like that masculinity lived somewhere else behind a door that I did not have the key to. And it wasn't until college that things started to shift a little bit for me. I started taking dance classes, not because I was trying to be athletic, but because I was a performer and I wanted to learn how to communicate with my body. It taught me something radical. If I wanted my body to express something and to communicate, I really had to care for it and to work on it. Strength wasn't about beating someone else. It was about showing up for myself. And around the same time, I signed up for an elective gym class because it was an easy A. You just had to show up a few times during the week on your own schedule, lift some weights, and you passed. So it was like very low stakes. But something unexpected happened as I was taking that class. As I was tracking my reps, as I was watching my weight slowly increase, as I noticed small little changes in my body over that semester, it felt very empowering and also a little meditative, because for the first time, my body wasn't a problem to solve. It was a project that I got to be curious about and to focus on. And yes, I have to be honest, there was also something about being surrounded by physically fit men and their bodies. Something about being in that masculine space without having to perform straightness. It was very freeing. And I had always assumed that masculinity wasn't available to me as a gay man, that I belonged to a different category, and that masculinity belonged to the jock or to the dad or to, well, not the gay. But I was there, I was lifting, and I was belonging, and I was accepted simply because I was there lifting weights. And that realization stayed with me from college. When I was doing all of this research, I started to think about the YMCA's secret connections, the coded networks of physique culture, the post-Stonewall change of what a gay man could look like. I definitely have this tenderness or this soft spot for the way that queer people, they keep finding doors to open, even when the door was built for some other purpose or someone else. Even when the sign out front of the gym said, "For moral improvement." And the real miracle inside was finding out that you're not alone. Over the years, the gym has become a refuge, a place where I can show up during daylight hours, sober, focused, and work towards something that feels really good. A place where effort matters more than performance, where you might not know someone's name, but you recognize their face, and you exchange a little nod, and you say hello, and that small kindness and that community, that gentle acknowledgement, that means more than we often admit. It's a community without pressure. It's care without expectation. And I still use the gym as a kind of moving meditation. There's music in my ears and I'm counting reps, just counting numbers, letting the noise of the world fade away. And I definitely enjoy seeing how my body has changed over the years. There's joy in realizing how much control I have over myself, how capable I am, and how far I've come. And all bodies are different and we all progress differently. But for me, I am proud of what I have accomplished. And now what's changed most is my comfort level. I used to be intimidated walking into a gym, but now I feel at home. And I hope other people, especially you, if you were told early on that that space was not for you, I hope you know that you deserve to feel welcome in those spaces. And, finding the right gym, it matters. You have to find one that has the right culture and that will accept you and allow you to be you. It doesn't have to be the fanciest one, not the most exclusive, but the one where people are kind, where hellos are exchanged freely, where you're allowed to take up space as you are. Because gay gyms were never just about fitness. They were about finding yourself in your body, about realizing that you belong. And sometimes they were about discovering community in the most unexpected places, between the sets, under the blaring fluorescent lights, just trying to be a little stronger than yesterday. If this made you think of your relationship to gyms or fitness, or a moment you finally felt that you belonged, share it in the comments. I love to read them. I read them all, and I love hearing your stories. Be sure to check out this little video popping up right over here for more queer history. And if you want a deeper place to hang out, come join the circle community that I've started, where we can keep these conversations going together. We can share history, ask more questions, build connections. I have a lot of fun tools that I'm adding with time. And you can join the circle community by clicking the link above or down in the description below. Until next time, stay strong, stay bold, and keep making history.